That's 800-617-5145.
To fight a real fighter, Pedro Fernandez. Damas y caballeros, bienvenidos, ladies and gentlemen. Coming at you from the multi-million-dollar Sports Byline Studios. Check it. This is Ring Talk live worldwide on Twitch.tv and, of course, WBC TV. Often imitated but never duplicated. My name is Pedro Fernandez. Of course, this is Ring Talk live worldwide, the longest-running fight show in history. Who am I? I'm a four-time Golden Glove champion, and I've won some awards for my boxing writing. I'm a school journalist, so I can write, I can fight, or I could write, I can still fight. Bottom line is, who knows? But I know a little bit about boxing. And guess what? The average fan, you know a little bit more. We've got the big fight coming up July 29th. Of course, we'll talk about Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, battle of the undefeated 147 pounds. Actually, battle of the geezers. They should be fighting at Caesar's Palace. Will be the geezers at Caesar. I mean, one guy's 35, the other guy's 32. These guys are a combined 67 years old. And yet, the fight world, that's how desperate we are for a major fight that we're looking forward to this with bated breath. Straight up, I don't know. We'll talk about that and more, of course, today with Johnny Signorello. We'll go to Las Vegas, Sin City. Speaking of Sin City, I just got back, spent a week down there. It was sort of cool. I went down to work out a deal. The deal didn't work out. I went to law school. I had some fun down there. Saw Johnny Singh, saw my great attorney, Mark Risman. Of course, spent some time with my spiritual advisor, Shelly Williams, the first lady of boxing. So I had a wonderful week. And I had a spa, a jacuzzi in my room the entire week. So I was just kicking it in Las Vegas. Don't feel bad for me. I had a great week. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Open phone lines all around the planet. You can join us if you'd like. 1-800-878-7529. That's 1-800-878-7529. Of course, there's also the more popular text line. You want to text me in the studio? Here's the text number. Studio text line, 415-275-1613. Once again, the studio text line, 415-275-1613. This is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. The impeccable one. Take it away.
Mucha fuerza al término de cada episodio, y en esta, evidentemente, siendo el hombre de casa.
El que deja de aprender, terminó su vida. El que sigue aprendiendo, sigue viviendo.
¡José Sulaimán! What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels.
Él me llevó por primera vez a una clínica de rehabilitación, como lo acabo de decir. Eso también se lo voy a agradecer.
The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
Did you have an idol in the past, or do you have an idol now?
My idol in the past was Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley es el ídolo que él ha tenido en el pasado.
Now my idol is Mr. Jose Sulaiman.
Ahora su ídolo es el señor José Sulaimán. Is your first time here in Mexico?
I came through once, but I can't remember exactly what I did, but I was here once.
and an online calendar is just $4.99. Make this year your year at Staples. Offer ends 12/31. In-store only.
Now, more of Ring Talk with Pedro Fernandez.
I don't want to predict this fight, but I'm gonna promise that I can give a good fight, to make people happy, and I just do my best.
The Filipino senator, the #1 Pinoy. I'm talking about Manny Pacquiao, of course, 2001. I'll never forget it. He was at the Holiday. It's not the Holiday anymore. They remodeled it. They revamped it. Of course, San Francisco's changed dramatically in the last 20, 25 years. But he was sitting at the Holiday Inn on 8th Street. He was going to fight here in San Francisco on a Floyd Mayweather card. He was on the undercard. It was an amazing event because when I went to his hotel room, he was poor. I mean, these guys were still dirt poor. I'm really poor. And he had one jogging suit to his name, and it said Pacquiao. And it was in the bathroom, hung up on it. They sort of washed it in the sink and then hung it up in the bathroom. The bottom line is, of course, he isn't that way anymore. He is like a zillionaire almost. And the number one hero for the people of the Philippines, without a doubt. Now, pound for pound, the greatest fighter of all time, I won't go there, but definitely pound for pound, he's one of the greats. I mean, the guy started out at 107 3/4 pounds and finished things like at 154. So you got to give him some props. Of course, I was always of the opinion he was taking Flintstone vitamins. You know what I'm talking about, performance-enhancing drugs. I mean, that was just my opinion because you don't go from like 112 pounds of muscle to 147 pounds of muscle without some type of aid. That's just my opinion. But bottom line is he's never been proved as far as taking any steroids. Speaking of steroids, last night, I don't want to say that this fight was on steroids, but this fighter at one point in time, his career was on steroids. I don't mean steroids like a performance-enhancing drug. I mean, it was like to the fast track to the top. We're talking about Edgar Berlanga. He opened up things up with like 17, 18 knockouts in a row. Some were like first round knockouts. So he was a guy. I mean, he was a guy. Well, last night he hooked up with Jason Quigley. And although I wasn't all that impressed with him going into the fight, I was definitely impressed with him coming out of the fight. Straight up, let's hear from the winner.
Go into the ring now, Chris Mannix. Edgar, congratulations. You pick up your 21st professional win. You go the distance. You have a spectacular 12th round to seal the deal. What did you think of your performance?
I give it a C. I'm just grateful, and I want to thank my Lord and Savior for being here, man, being healthy. A year layoff of a bicep injury, and I had to recover from that. I want my new coach, the guy that started me in the pros, Mark. So we had a great camp. I'm just glad I did it once again in front of my hometown people, all my fans. All the people that didn't believe me, I love y'all still. We're here.
I think a lot of people were expecting you just to blow through Jason Quigley in this fight. What made him so difficult?
He knew I was coming to fight. Everybody that steps in the ring with me knows I got punching power and knows, they train to survive. They try to box, move around, use their jab, and try to kill me off points because they know I got the hammer. But, I take my head off to his team. I know they try to get with a great game plan for me. Every fighter that I face, at his level, they're gonna try to run and move around, But I'm just grateful we got the victory. I was looking for a knockout. I was looking for a TKO. But I'm just glad we're here once again, man.
This was your first fight back with Mark Farid, your original trainer. It did seem a lot of times during the fight that you guys weren't exactly on the same page. He was asking for things that you weren't necessarily doing in the ring. How did you see it?
Yeah, definitely right about that. I was supposed to step on the pedal early, and I was just leaning back, using my jab, trying to catch, the distance. But, we're just going back to the drawing board. I get back in the gym in a week, and I get ready for whatever's next.
The Puerto Rican sensation, of course, an undefeated knockout artist, 21-0 now, 16 knockouts, Edgar Berlanga. Socrates Palmer sort of knocked him going into the fight, said his preparation wasn't right and things like that. Of course, here's a guy that's got Eddie Hearn, of course, the promoter extraordinaire, the guy that runs the zone, the guy that lost $2 billion in the last couple of years. Yeah, a real winner as far as finances are concerned. But the bottom line is he's got people giving him money. They're jumping more money in the zone. So who am I to say he's wrong in losing $2 billion? But anyway, the bottom line is he now has Eddie Hearn in his corner. And of course, he thinks that's going to take him into a Canelo fight. Speaking of Canelo, it looks like Canelo is going to hook up with Jamal Charlo, the 160-pound Charlo. Of course, 33-0, I think 22 knockouts. That's going to happen in September. And of course, Charlo, real active. He hasn't fought since June 19th, 2021. 2021. Real active. Of course, now why does Canelo want to fight him? Probably because of the fact that he hasn't fought in 2 years. Plus, he thinks he's fighting a smaller guy. because he thinks Canelo, that Charlo's a 160-pounder, and that Canelo's a 168-pounder. Listen, Canelo started off like 147 pounds, 145 pounds, moved up to 154, won a title, 160, 168, and briefly at 175. Was talking about fighting the cruiserweight champion and tried to get the cruiserweight champion, the WBC, who fights at 200 pounds, tried to get him to come out, get this, Bailey, at 180 pounds. He wanted to fight the 200-pound world champion at 180 pounds. Good God, what do you want? I mean, come on, man. But that's Canelo. Of course, now Canelo's going to do the thing with Charlo. Charlo's all excited about it. He's going to make some big money. This is his career-defining moment, without a doubt, okay? Now, do I think the kid's going to do well? I don't know. We just don't know. There's too many intangibles here. The fact that Canelo's gotten old, I think Canelo's soft. I think it's about time to stick a fork in the Mexican sensation. People say to me, oh, he's still a pound-for-pound king. No, he's a pound-for-pound king at the box office maybe, but not in boxing. There is no pound-for-pound king of boxing right now. There just isn't. People say to me, oh, it's Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford really hasn't done a whole lot. 35 years old, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, undefeated, of course, come to us from Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha is not an island in Hawaii. I thought it was originally. Of course, I was traveling back in the 1980s, and they said, hey, guess what? If you want to get off the airplane right now, we'll give you a round trip ticket to Omaha. And I said to myself, Omaha? That must be in Hawaii. Let's go. So we grabbed all our bags. We're getting off the plane. Guess what? The lady said to me, Omaha, Nebraska. I said, lady, it's Omaha, not Omaha. Anyway, bottom line is I got back on the plane. That was like Sun World Airlines, some crazy stuff. Some startup airlines no longer exists. But I do want to say this. I flew down on Alaska Airlines to Las Vegas this week, and it was cool flying down. It was rough. You know, they got the air turbulence going into Vegas and out of Vegas, right? And when the flight crew warns you in advance of turbulence, take them seriously, okay? Because take them seriously. So anyway, bottom line is the plane was rocky going in. And of course, I'm freaking out, doing the prayers and all that kind of good stuff, the Rosetta stuff, you name it. I go a little, listen, I get a little weird on airplanes, and I'll tell you why. Was that Vegas to Frisco trip? One time I came out of there for the Wilfredo Gomez, Salvador Sanchez fight back in 1982, okay? The air turbulence was so bad, the plane was dropping. And listen, folks, while the plane's dropping, Pedro's counting. 1,001, 1,002, 1,000. Oh! I mean, when you get to 1,003 and the plane's dropping, holy spit with H. I mean, you're freaking out, right? So I'm screaming. Other people on the plane are screaming. There's ladies screaming. There's panic going on, the whole 9 yards. Everybody's freaking out. Sodas and everything's flying around the airplane, okay? And the stewardess comes up to me and says, sir, you've got to calm down. You're frightening the other passengers. I said, they should be frightened. We're about to drop out the sky like a rock. Are you crazy, lady? Anyway, she goes, you have to calm down. You have to calm down. I said, you need to calm down, too, because she was upset. Anyway, bottom line, she went back. Hector Martinez, the two-time Golden Glove champion, he was the manager of Roberto Duran at one point in time. He was so scared, he was holding my hand. I couldn't get him to let go. He was like holding my hand. He was sitting next to me, sweating, holding my hand. It was the scariest flight. We call it the flight from hell. But that didn't come close to that flight. I took, of course, into the Colorado Springs when I went to the Olympic Training Center in 1984. That was heavy because we were going to Colorado Springs, and I fell asleep. And the plane, I woke up and the plane was on its side. I mean, like that. I was saying, oh my God, in a snowstorm, a little small plane just now. But that's what you were willing to do to get a chance to fight for the gold. I mean, this was it. I ended up the number 13 in 1984. But I mean, that was, I probably was in over my head without a doubt. I mean, even though I won Golden Glove titles here and was a decent fighter, this and that. As far as the nationally guys were concerned, I think I was fighting a little bit too small. And what I mean by that is at 139 pounds, I thought I was a big 139 pounder, a big junior welterweight, of course, until I went and faced world-class competition like Vincent Webb. Of course, he was ranked number 2 at one point in time at 139 pounds. At the time I fought him in 1984, he was ranked number 9. But he was so, I couldn't believe how big this dude was. I mean, holy cow, big, strong. I mean, he was like 165 pounds. We weighed in at 139. 2 days later, he was like 165 pounds. That's just the way it is. So I realized right then and there that I was probably fighting over my weight. But at that point in time, I was sweating and barely making 139. So how was I going to make 132 pounds? Anyway, bottom line is I do miss boxing without a doubt as far as the personal involvement is concerned. Of course, last night, speaking of personal involvement, we had boxing here in the city by the bay, San Francisco, California, because the Cow Palace, of course, the famed arena. It's out there on the Daly City border here on Geneva Avenue, a place that I fought at. I stopped Paul Nava there in 1981 with a body shot. Straight up, former World Boxing Federation World Welterweight Champion, the man that beat Greg Haugen. Of course, Greg Haugen beat a lot of guys in the pro. I stopped him with one body shot in the second round at the Cow Palace. So that's my claim to fame at the Cow Palace. Anyway, last night, ferocious Fernando Vargas was in town. No, not the former junior welterweight champion, not the a kid for the Olympics. Of course, he almost made the Olympics. But the bottom line is, I'm talking about this kid. Hold on a second. Fernando Vargas Jr. now, 11-0, 11 knockouts. Of course, took out a guy named Andre Bird in the last round. It was a 6-rounder. Of course, the Bird came in with a not so good record. But the bottom line is Vargas remains undefeated. Of course, they fought for the second time here at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. I wish them the very best. I didn't get a chance to get out there. I just flew in from Vegas. I mean, I was burnt. I was burnt to a crisp. I couldn't go to the fights last night. I barely got in. Bottom line is, it was a good event. Everybody had a good time out there as far as what I was told. The actual crowd, I haven't got a crowd attendance in a gate. I'll probably get that from the Athletic Commission on Monday or Tuesday. But of course, in the local favorite, Andy El Tiburon Vences, of course, he was beaten by Leonardo Alcea. Alcea came in at 21-5. Left at 22-5. Of course, that was an 8-round unanimous nod. That was the semi-main event. Of course, ferocious Fernando Vargas. The man at one point in time, listen, the old man Vargas, he had De La Hoya on the ropes. I mean, on the ropes. I was there in the first row, sitting in the first row, watching this going down. And, of course, Fernando Vargas was on juice, Flintstone vitamins. He was on steroids. I mean, he looked at it. He looked the part. He was all ripped up. And I mean, holy cow, he didn't look like that. You know, he was a chubby guy. He liked his ketchup. He liked a lot of caves of ketchup at it. No, seriously, Fernando Vargas. Anyway. So Vargas, at 154 pounds, of course, was the man at one point in time. He just was before Mexico Trinidad, of course. But Oscar De La Hoya and him, he had De La Hoya out in the first round. He had De La Hoya up against the rope, and he couldn't finish him. That was shame on him. That was a career-defining moment as far as Fernando Vargas in the ring. As far as the in-the-ring defining moment for Fernando Vargas, that was it without a doubt. When you couldn't stop De La Hoya in that first round because he had him. I mean, there's no way De La Hoya should have got out of that round. Absolutely no. I mean, credit to De La Hoya. Credit to Oscar's fortitude, his intestinal fortitude, his stones. I mean, his will to win, his determination, without a doubt, because he was on 18th at Castro, a.k.a. Queer Street. Speaking of Queer Street, it's Pride Week in San Francisco, which means traffic is absolutely nuts. I mean, I don't know how the impeccable one gets here, but I'm driving all over the city, all these different detours, all those kind of crazy stuff. I went absolute berserk here, but I'm here and I'm ready to rock. This is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. On the other side of the break, we'll bring in the incomparable Johnny Signorella on Ring Talk Live Worldwide, WBC TV, Twitch.tv, of course, the Sports Byline USA channel. And Matthew in St. Louis, the thing ain't working, so hello, my brother.
Medallista olímpico para Estados Unidos en Los Ángeles de 1984. Evander Holyfield saltó al profesionalismo ese mismo año.
Fans are going wild, but in that fight, Holyfield ran out again.
En 1986 fue campeón mundial de peso crucero y en 1990 de peso completo WBC, derrotando a James Douglas.
Botha, however, able to Botha down.
But fighting back, he still legit. And there he goes into the ropes. Holyfield looks to finish him off. Holyfield steps in and
Evander tuvo connotados rivales a los que venció: George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe y a Mike Tyson en 2 ocasiones en 1996 y 1997. Holyfield es uno de los más destacados pesos completos de todos los tiempos. Resistente y técnico. Es formidable.
I am the Tasmanian Devil, 5-time world champion, tune in to the WBC. Tune in.
Visit choicehomewarranty.com for more details.
Now, more of Ring Talk with Pedro Fernandez. How did I get up from the knockdowns? I don't know.
The heavyweight fraudster. No, not the heavyweight champion. No, not the WBC champion. No, not the linear world champion. The Gypsy King. I'm talking about Tyson Fury. What's he want? $300 million to fight a guy smaller than it was $500 million. Wait, $500 million. But wait, oh, that was a bit excessive. So I dropped my demand to $300 million. Listen, this guy's turned out to be a blight for boxing. I mean, the Klitschko fight, yeah, it was a long time ago. Of course, the 3 fights with Deontay Wilder. Outside of those 3 fights, what have you done for me lately, Tyson Fury? Nothing. All you've done is pontificate, say this, say that, call this guy out, call that guy. You travel around the pond like you're Muhammad Ali, and you're not. You're just hey, listen, you're a guy that's got a bigger ass and a wider ass and you have wider shoulders. What I'm trying to tell you is you're a physical anomaly that happens to hold the WBC title at this point in time. But as far as being a credit to the game, I used to think you were, especially coming back like from the cocaine and depression and suicide and being a fat guy, 400 pounds, that kind of good stuff. I mean, I thought that was right on making your comeback, all right? But what have you done for me? That basically boils down to this. What has Tyson Fury done for the boxing fans lately? Nothing. At this point in time, I'll bring in, of course, the man that knows a little bit about Tyson Fury, Johnny Signorella, of course, Mr. Sin City himself. And how are you today, young man?
I'm doing great, Pedro. How are you?
Doing just fine. Of course, returning. Good to see you this week down there in Sin City. Good to see. I saw Frankie Avalon. I'm dating myself, but Frankie Avalon was like this TV star, this teen idol. Of course, he's 82 years old, and him and Annette Funicello. Annette Funicello was on the Mickey Mouse Club. He wasn't, but he did all these surfing movies back in the 60s and 70s. But he's 82 years old. He's got more hair than me. He's got more hair than the impeccable one. And the impeccable one's got all kinds of hair. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't know what the secret is, but he's got 8 kids. He's got more hair than I can imagine. He's 82 years old, and he was rocking and rolling. So it was good to see you. It was good to see Frankie Avalon. Let's talk fights. Of course, let's talk about last night's fight straight up. I'm talking about, not Berlanga, J-Rock. I'm talking about Julian Williams. Of course, Carlos Adames, TKO9, Mark Nelson, the referee, stopped it. And some people are moaning about the stoppage, Johnny Sagan. Here's why I don't have a problem with it. He was down major on the scorecards, and I just don't think a guy should be a Timex watch and take a licking and keep on ticking. You know where I'm coming from in that?
I think Breadman and a lot of people had issues with it because Julian Williams actually was throwing a shot and getting a way out of his man when the stoppage came in. Actually turned Adames around in the corner. It could have went to work because Carlos had burnt himself out a little bit because he was throwing a lot of punches in that round. Now, granted, it was one heck of a fight. It was gritty. It was old school. They were fighting on the inside. Excellent action. So it could have been accumulation that the referee's looking at. I think the result would have been inevitable. But, however, I think it was just a bad time to stop it at that time.
Well, of course, we've had our bad stoppages. Tony Weeks a few weeks ago, of course, that Raleigh Romero fight with Mr. Barbosa. That has to be the worst stoppage in the I go back to 1983 on Michael Dokes, Joey Curtis stopping the Michael Dokes, Mike Weaver fight. I kid you not. I had to go back that far to find a more atrocious stoppage.
The punch didn't even land, man. You know?
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but so, Las Vegas is considered the boxing capital of the world. Of course, they had that fight, and of course, the following week or a couple weeks later, they had the Vasil Lomachenko decision. Of course, a lot of people thought that Lomachenko won the fight. The majority of fight fans thought that Lomachenko won the fight. The majority of the media thought he won that fight. In fact, the only 3 people in the country that are in the arena that thought Devin Haney won the fight was Devin Haney and the 2 judges that voted for him, especially Dave Moretti of Las Vegas. We talked about this before, but 116-112, I think it was the 10th round in which Vasil Lomachenko just all but he should have been arrested for domestic violence. He had lumped up Devin Haney so bad. And Dave Moretti gave the round to Haney.
I thought that was ridiculous, and I thought Lomachenko was clearly ahead even at that time in that round, but definitely a dominant round in round 10. I mean, Haney's own people didn't even like him here in Vegas, but the judges seemed to love him. It was a close fight. But, I mean, to this day, I'm still going to say 7-5. You know, I thought Lomachenko brought the right tools, the game plan. He carried it out well. Haney was playing the guessing game. He was figuring them out the whole fight. Couldn't really figure them out.
July 22nd, they're holding an egg bowl down in Australia. Why am I saying that? Because guess what? When you go to the arena, they're going to give everybody an egg so they can throw it at George Kambosos Jr. He's taking on Maxie Hughes in a lightweight comeback. We're talking about the guy that pulled off the major con of the last 25 years in the world of boxing. He beats the world champion. Without a doubt, he beats the world champion. Then he comes back, he sets up fights with Haney. Not one, but two. Of course, he didn't win. How many rounds did he win in the 24 rounds? Maybe 3, if that?
Yeah, I'll say that 3.
You know what, John? I'm gonna have my producer reconnect with you on Skype because you're coming back on the delayed. So you're gonna hang up right now and he'll recall you, okay?
You got it, my man.
All right, straight up. That's why he's taking too long to come back here. Straight up, you are tuned to Ring Talk Live Worldwide. You're inside looking to the world of boxing and MMA. Of course, Virgil Ortiz, July the 8th. Man, the kid, I was so hot on him. 18 knockouts, fighting out of Texas. I mean, he was a guy. He fought so good, you didn't need Viagra. I mean, that's what I'm serious. And then what happened? He got some blood disease or some ailment, of course, which happens when you cut weight. Evidently, this was associated with him cutting weight, and he cuts a lot of weight, evidently, from 170 pounds to get down to 147. Evidently, this fight with Emanis Stenois has been delayed not once, twice, but like 3 times. So, I mean, has a guy not got another fight? Evidently, he's waiting around for this big money fight. He thinks he has a chance against Virgil Ortiz. I just don't know if Virgil Ortiz has slipped that much. I mean, inactivity. Speaking of inactivity, of course, we go back to the fact that Charlo and Canelo want to get Johnny Sig back on the air. I mean, Charlo hasn't fought in over 2 years now. It'll be 2.5 years almost since he stepped in the ring. I mean, the guy won't even get himself a tune-up fight, like a 4-round fight or a 6-round fight or something like that. But he could fight me or the impeccable one. I mean, get tuned up, get ring ready. But not Charlo. He's going to go into the biggest fight of his life with the biggest layoff. But we ready to connect one more time? Let's go back to Las Vegas and bring Johnny Sig. Sig, how's that sound?
Much better. I can hear you guys. I didn't even know there was a tech issue, but let's roll.
Okay, bottom line is Virgil Ortiz. Now, the blood issues, is he really going to make 147, or are they going to cancel this one more time, July the 8th?
I'm thinking he's coming through. He needs a payday, right? Can't keep canceling fights. You got to show up to work sometime.
Yeah, that's a good point about that. I was talking about the Egg Bowl of George Kambosos and Maxie Hughes going down July 22nd. ESPN's going to cover that, of course, come to us from Australia. The reason why I call it the Egg Bowl is I think people should throw eggs at George Kambosos.
For beating Teofimo?
No. For dogging it against Devin Haney, for coming in with that 2-fight con deal where you went down there and you didn't do anything. I mean, the bottom line is, I wasn't really super overly impressed with what Haney did down there in Australia, but the fact that Kambosos didn't even come to fight, he was throwing combinations from left field. He's setting up and throwing 3-punch combinations from 1.5 to 2 feet away from Devin Haney. He never double jabbed to get close. In fact, in the rematch, he never double jab or triple jab to get close. He never learned anything for the first time. It was just a walk. It was money. He was there for the money, straight up. Didn't even think about his pride or winning.
Well, like I mentioned before with Haney, game plan. When you could carry a game plan and have to make someone else, adapt and adjust and figure them out, it's always going to be tough on the opponent to do that. And that was the story there, I believe.
You are tuned to Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Your inside look at the world of boxing and MMA. Of course, the 25th of July, the ESPN Plus going across the pond. Of course, Tokyo, Japan, WBC, WBO, 122-pound titles on the line. Of course, Stephen Fulton, he can fight, no doubt about that, defending against Naoya Inoue. Of course, Inoue, the monster, the guy moving up from 115 to 118 and now 122 pounds. Has he reached his limit as far as size is concerned, or can he go higher? Can he win? Is he going to win against Fulton?
Well, I tell you what, this is going to be a great fight coming up, and that's really the question right there. But that's it for Inoue right here. I think he's really maxing out his weight. I was actually surprised he's taking this fight. Very dangerous opponent here for him. Very, very dangerous opponent.
Straight up.
So I'm looking forward to that. One of the best in the world in Inoue.
July 25th, ESPN Plus. I don't know what hours is going to go down. Of course, I was going to go over for the first fight, and I was looking at some travel site, this and that. It was like $1,800 to get over there for 2 days. I didn't want to go for that. Didn't go that deep. Straight up. This is Ring Talk Live Worldwide, your inside look at the world of boxing and MMA. More of Johnny Sig after the break.
I am the Tasmanian Devil, 5-time world champion. Tune in to the WBC. Tune in.
Devin Haney nació en San Francisco, California. Debutó en el año de 2015. Sus primeras 4 contiendas fueron en México. Conquistó el campeonato mundial peso ligero del WBC venciendo al dominicano Alfredo Santiago. Ha defendido el verde y oro contra Jorge Linares, Joseph Díaz, 2 veces contra George Kambosos y la más reciente en fenomenal y polémica contienda frente al ucraniano Vasil Lomachenko. Es poseedor de un estilo muy especial y de una gran velocidad para soltar los puños y para desplazarse a lo largo y ancho del cuadrilátero. Es un invitado especial en esta tarde de celebración. Es The Dream Devin Haney.
Hello, this is Gabriel Ruelas. Stay tuned for WBC TV and BIV Network.
Use tablets, laptops, TVs, and other home tech from accidental damage and wear and tear. All plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. 800-867-6917. 800-867-6917. 800-867-6917. That's 800-867-6917.
Now, more Ring Talk with Pedro Fernandez.
It's macho time.
I miss him. I'm talking about the Harlem Heckler, Hector Camacho, the Macho Man. I nicknamed him the Harlem Heckler. I was scared to death. You know, there's some guys, when I gave them nicknames, they didn't appreciate it. Okay, the Hispanic causing panic. I thought that was a great name for Juan Lozcano. He got upset about that originally. So when I called Hector Camacho the Harlem Heckler, he loved it. I thought it was great. Bottom line is I miss him. Of course, he's been dead now almost 10 years, shot to death. And of course, they arrested 4 or 5 guys. They charged them with murder. But at the end of the day, the witnesses disappeared. In Puerto Rico? Who would think? Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Let's go back to Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. Of course, we're bringing Mr. Sin City himself. Talk about Johnny Sig. Johnny, last night here in the City by the Bay. Some call it the City by the Gay. Of course, today is the gay parade. But the bottom line is Evan Holyfield, Evander Holyfield's kid, or one of his kids. He got 19 kids. Hey, how many kids do you have from different women? Do we ever figure that one out? Does he hold the record for that?
Evander Holyfield with kids?
Hey, does he hold the record for different women with kids? I think it was up to 9. Goodness. It was 9 at one point in time.
I believe the final record was 9, Pedro.
Oh my God! Bottom line is, 9 different women, 9 kids. That's a child. Hey, even the Pepper ones got a little child support. 9. Holy cow! That's a lot of money. No wonder Evander Holyfield's broke. Anyway, I remember driving by his house outside of Atlanta in Georgia, and there was a big, like a wire. His house was in the middle of this field, and there was like this big fence built around this field. And I said to him, I called him on the phone. I said, Evander B, I said, I'm coming down. He goes, well, don't come down until blah, blah, blah. I said, why? He goes, because my security guys will shoot you. Bottom line, I said, okay, I won't come down until you clear him. But the bottom line is, Evander Holyfield's kid last night, of course, was in the city by the bay, and he took on a guy by the name of Andre Thunderbird, who came in at 10-13. Are you surprised he left at 10-14?
Not at all.
Okay. Is this the way boxing? Is this good that a guy that Evander Holyfield's kid and Fernando Vargas' son are fighting bums, hobos?
Well, it's not good. You know, I mean, in the beginning stages of development, sure. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these cats out there that they're going to fight, you know, sons of legends, they're going to come after you. You know, but some guys, like I was mentioning to you in a private conversation, you know, Tim Tszyu, his father, Cusumano, one of the greatest fighters of my generation that I watched coming up, and this kid's turning out to be an animal. But, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, is it good if you're just keep padding your record? Because when you do got to step up, you know, the truth will come out.
Without a doubt. Speaking of the truth coming out, Jake Paul is going to take on Nate Diaz, of course, the August 5th. This is on pay-per-view. Did the truth come out with Jake Paul and Tommy Fury? Did that show his limitations at that point in time?
At that point in time, yes, and I'm glad you added that. I will add this. The kid is training hard. Paul's training hard. He's around the right people. He seems to really care about boxing. I can't knock him for it. I mean, he's definitely blossomed into something. I cannot knock him for it.
You know, but the mere fact that he wanted to fight Fury, Fury got under his skin. And so I called Tony Holden, who's the father of Bryce Holden, the manager, the promoter, and I said to him, listen, don't fight Fury. And he goes, well, why, Pedro? I said, because Fury's a natural boxer, per se, and Fury's got an attitude. I said, and, you know, beating Fury, I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to steer him away from Fury. And he comes back to me, Tony Holden comes back to me and says, listen, Jake Paul and his father have decided on Fury, and that's it. There's going to be no changing their mind. I said, okay. I said, then the ride's going to come to an end. Because I thought the ride was going to come to an end. And it has to an extent. In other words, the show must go on. I mean, Jake Paul was the show. They screwed that up. That was bad matchmaking.
Yeah, but he's an exception to that rule because he was already a celebrity going in. You know, he was known going in publicly. And so it's different when you have that type of fighter, you know, making his way in because people are going to love him no matter what and stand behind him, you know, which is as they should do with people in general. But the thing is, you know, they're not going to turn their back on him too quickly. I mean, he is out there trying. He's learning on the job, really, as a pro.
Okay. Last night, well, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, of course, Edgar Berlanga, 21-0, 16 knockouts, did this thing on DAZN, of course, promoter Barry Hearn. Jason Quigley was knocked out in 2 rounds by Demetrius Andrade. What does that say about Quigley?
You know, right. Because we all know Andrade can't really punch that hard. So here's what's up. He was down in rounds 3 and 5, Quigley was, I believe. Berlanga, like you mentioned at the open of the show, he was knocking everyone out. He's got 16 knockouts on his record. They all came in his first 16 fights.
First round.
The past 5, yeah. The last 5 fights of his have been decisions. It's pretty wild how it goes, but he's 21-0, 16 KOs. He actually graded himself a C+ last night, Berlanga. He was hard on himself.
Yeah, we played that. We played that clip a little bit earlier. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, is he a threat at 168? Yes, he is, because he can punch, right?
That's right.
Okay, but at 168 now, is the title up for grasp? Is it up for is it a coin toss now? Who's the best at 168? Who is the best fighter? I mean, we've got Eric Morrell. He's got a title. Oh, he's only got 6 or 7 fights, but he's got a title. He's got probably one of the most, when I say unique styles, and I think that's what we put. He's hard to beat. Of course, you got David Benavidez, and you've got a scoop on Benavidez. You saw him Friday. Where'd you see him?
Yeah, I ran into him out here in Vegas. You know, he was staying at the same hotel I was staying at, and ran into him. Great guy. You know, he was with his lady, and you know, also a very nice person. And we hung out and talked. He was very friendly. He gave me some information about his next fight, which I will not say on the air because he hasn't put it out there. It hasn't been announced.
No. Everybody's talking about him fighting the Tijuana cab driver, Jaime Munguia. I mean, that's that. But here's what's up. Everybody's saying they're fighting Munguia. Berlanga says he's fighting Munguia. Everybody wants to fight the Tijuana cab driver now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he makes for good fights. He's 42-0, right? But something about him, he looks vulnerable, doesn't he, Pedro? Is it just me?
Look, they gave him a title like Andrade. They gave him a belt, I think, at 154. They gave him belts, okay? You moved from 154 to 160 and now 168. He never made a statement at 154 or 160. I don't think he's going to make a statement at 168.
I had to look at my TV 3 times when I saw he was fighting at 168. I was like, wait, what? You know, because he's one of those guys that's all over the place. But you look at the record, it's very unusual. 42-0. Didn't even realize he had that many fights at one point, and then 33 knockouts. But somehow he seems very vulnerable. Now you mentioned Dave Morrell.
Because he hasn't fought anybody much better than you.
Now you mentioned Dave Morrell. You know, 9-0, 8 KOs, Cuban fighter, awkward style, very, very good puncher. You know, you still got Caleb Plant there. Benavidez, as mentioned. I mean, come on. He's, you know how I feel about him. He's one of my favorite fighters on the planet. You know,
poor guy. He might not be the same after taking that licking from Benavidez. You don't need to take that type of beating. In other words, once Benavidez turned the tide and he's kicking his ass 4, 5, 6 rounds. That's what I'm trying to say. People don't see the compassion that I bring to the game. I think the fight should be stopped. In other words, there's no reason. I see these guys 10, 15 years later that you guys don't see, or for the most part, I'm talking about listeners, that they don't get to see. And when I see them having difficulty shaking hands and signing autographs, things like that, these are the residual effects of boxing, combat sports. So what I'm trying to tell you is that they need to stop these fights sooner rather than later. And, of course, I thought the Mark Nelson stoppage last night was a good stop, but, of course, I'm going to get some heat on that.
Yeah, you know, and going back to Plant, like that was one heck of an effort, and that one went on a little bit longer than it should have. And it was very sad to watch.
John Ryder took a lick, too much of a lick, and I thought John Ryder. I mean, he went against Canelo Alvarez, of course. But he was fighting for UK pride. I mean, it was the same day he fought on the same day the king was crowned. I mean, that's got to be like the biggest day in all of England. You're where I'm coming from, so you're like the main event on TV. You got to go the distance. So I was pulling for him. But man, he took a licking like I wouldn't recommend on anybody.
Can I ask you this, Pedro? Did you cover yet the Fernando Martinez fight last night?
Let's talk about Jade Borja. Let's talk about that.
Oh man, did you see Jade Borja, his ear?
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly.
Oh man, let me tell the listeners, Fernando Martinez, not to laugh, almost knocked off Barrera's ear in that fight with a left hook, and the thing exploded, and all that blood hit the camera, and this guy was fighting with Dumbo ear for, I think, what, Pedro, 4 rounds?
I don't know, but here's what's up. I turned it on. At one point in time, I said, I just walk away from the screen. When I see ugly stuff, sometimes I walk away from the screen. I go in the other room and find something to do, and I come back, what happened? But the bottom line is that was really gnarly looking. I don't need, that. Listen, I think I saw a guy in Sacramento, I can't remember, I think it was a Hector Liziarga fight, in which the ear almost came off, and that absolutely freaked me out. So I didn't need to see it again.
No, man, I thought this thing was going. My wife was watching it with me, and we were just watching the ear at that point. Like, how do you not? It's like you can't get your eyes off the thing.
And it's like a car wreck, driving by a car wreck without a doubt. Hey, Barry Hearns lost $2 billion. Why is he a good promoter if he's lost $2 billion?
That's a great question. I mean, if he's got $2 billion to burn, I guess he's got to do something right if he's got that kind of money just to throw away.
Okay. Is Al Heyman making a move now? I mean, he seems to be signing some fights of late. Is he?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. You know, Showtime's really stepped up the game. I'm glad you mentioned that. Definitely with the stable of PBC. Now, you're mentioning, you know, the guys at 168. You know, we got Benavidez coming through now over there to the PBC. We got all these Canelo over there at the PBC now. You know, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, I get that. But even, listen, if Canelo fights Charlo, and Charlo was to beat Canelo, Canelo has a rematch with Charlo and says goodbye, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no if here. I mean, Charlo has not fought in forever, right?
Yeah, I know, but listen, but you know, but the Mexican superstar looked like a Pillsbury Doughboy the last couple of times out.
No, I feel you. Maybe something you're saying, maybe a little bit lost.
No,
soft. Love of the game. Soft. Okay. Well, no, I got that. What you saying? He's not taking it seriously anymore, Canelo?
I just don't think he can. I think at this point in time, at the age of 32, with all the money and all the money and the fame and this kind of good stuff. Listen, money ruined Roberto Duran for a little while. Okay, I mean, after he got, of course, the $1 million payoff for the first Leonard fight, he was sort of weird. He didn't want to train for the second fight. Sort of got in shape late, and of course had the no mas. And, of course, that was the debacle of his entire great career, without a doubt. But some guys just can't get it together at certain points in their lives when they should. And this may be one of them.
It does happen, man. It does happen. And, you know, to my understanding, he likes golfing a lot, which is cool. Frustrates me to death. But, you know, golfing in general. But
miniature golf. You got to go play miniature golf. I used to play miniature golf with all my girlfriends for sexual favors. Okay, and that was it was really cool. Let me tell you. I'll mention her on the air. I don't care. Her husband's really insecure and that kind of good stuff. I can care if it's good. Anyway, bottom line is Maria Ramirez and I were going out for like 8 or 10 years, and we always play miniature golf for sexual favors. I would give her 10 strokes, and I would always win. Okay, so on the way home, I was happy. Anyway, but the bottom line is, one time we went down there, and I said to the guy, he goes, "Which course you want to play?" She goes, "Course 2." Okay, course 2. We go play course 2. She gets a hole in one in the first hole. She gets a eagle in the second hole. She gets a hole in one in the third hole. Bottom line is, she went down there and practiced for 2 months. Okay, and she beat the snot out of me. So that was sort of the end of my my undefeated career in the world of Pee Wee golf. Because at one point in time, I was really good, man. But she schooled me. She beat me. That was embarrassing. That was, I mean, and I was with guys too. I was with some guys, so I got embarrassed in front of my pals. You know, if you get embarrassed, might as well stick it to you.
Hey, at least you can play the game. I can't play mini golf. I can't play golf in general.
Well,
I like to hit the ball far. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. The pound for pound crown, we talked about this before. If Canelo Alvarez is the number 1 pound for pound ranked fighter in the world of BoxRec.com, they say they do things by a computer. How can they rate him number 1 when B-Ball beat him and B-Ball's number 2?
They're going too much by the computer stuff there. I got B-Ball on my pound for pound at 3, but no doubt he did clearly beat Canelo. So there's no doubt he should be above Canelo. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Who's hot in the heavyweight division? Is Jared Anderson going to be the future?
I'm not sure yet. You know, I mean, I'm still stuck on the Usyks, you know, as my favorite, and the Wilders and Joshua's and Ruiz. And,
yeah, but these guys are all. But you're talking about a bunch of outside of Usyk. You're talking about a bunch of has-beens. I mean, Tyson Fury says he wants like $500 million to fight anybody, man. He should be arrested for impersonating the heavyweight champion of the world.
Have you heard of Philip? What's his name? Horovic?
No, they're going to do that now.
Yeah, I'll try this again. Philip Kurjovic, 15-0, 12 KOs. I've caught him a little bit. He's creeping in the shadows, looking to come in. But I still think there's a lot of business to be settled and had at the heavyweight division. Still, with some of the guys that could be washed up. I mean, believe it or not, hey guys, Joshua has 3 losses.
Straight up.
Wow.
This is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. That is Johnny Sig. Johnny, we'll talk to you next week. Have a good week. Hug the wife, kiss the kid.
I will. Thank you guys, everyone. Enjoy your day.
This is Ring Talk Live Worldwide on Sports Byline, iHeartRadio, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, the American Forces Network. I keep going and going, but the impeccable one says we got to go to a break. Straight up to a break.
De la clase masiva de box más grande del mundo 2023. Así que vamos para el knockout.
mucha fuerza al término de cada episodio, y en esta, evidentemente, siendo el hombre de casa.
Hey guys, this is Brian the Wine Punch Valoria. Stay tuned to WBC TV and VIV.
More ring talk with Pedro Fernandez.
He is the greatest fighter of all times next to me.
We know it. Straight up, I'm not the greatest fighter next to Ali. Of course, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. What a wonderful time we had together in the different times we spent around the world. Of course, I was with him in Europe, with him in Asia, with him in South America, of course, with him here in the continental United States. And of course, the Asian trips were just memorable without a doubt. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Last night, Adam Kownacki, at one point in time, Kownacki, of course, one point in time, he was like a heavyweight hope. Of course, he had the right complexion, maybe the right connection. We got TKO'd last night by a guy named Joe Cusumano. Cusumano is now 22-4, 20 KOs. For Kownacki, the fourth fight in a row that he's lost, time to stick a fork in him. Of course, somebody said to me, who is Al Heyman? Everybody wants to know who Al Heyman is. Of course, he's the guy that runs Premier Boxing Champions. He's a Harvard graduate. He's made a lot of money. He made a lot of money in the music business. Of course, back in the days, he did Parliament, Funkadelic, and all that kind of good stuff from the 80s and the 70s. He did some stuff in the 70s as well. So he's got some tenure as far as promoting is concerned. He's got some money. Originally, he had $5 million or $500 million, $500 million originally, of course. Then he spent that, but he put his company together. Of course, PBC now is probably on top. Probably on top. Him and Bob Arum are probably looking at each other as far as straight across the table. They are equals at this point in time. Although you've got Al Heyman having Showtime, and of course, Bob Arum's got ESPN. So what's better, Showtime or ESPN? Who knows? Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Stay tuned for hour number 2. Of course, after the biased, racist, sexist news coming up here on Sports Byline, you hear Ring Talk Live Worldwide, WBC TV on the other side of the break. So at 6 minutes past the hour, Ring Talk Live Worldwide resumes from the Sports Byline Broadcast Network here in the city by the bay. So we'll take a break for the news. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. The impeccable one is at the control.
Hi, I'm Karthik Satyanarayan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wildlife SOS. You can help save India's wildlife by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also like, comment, and share this video. Thank you.
$97.
That's
Ladies and gentlemen, live from the West Coast, it's time for Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Your inside look into combat sports.
Ring Talk Live Worldwide is brought to you by the World Boxing Council, the WBC.
And now, the host of the longest running fight show in radio and internet history.
I am not these bubblegum dudes you talking to.
Pedro Fernandez.
He will be mine in round 9, and if he makes me sore, I'll cut it to 4.
Damas y caballeros, bienvenidos, ladies and gentlemen. Emanating, coming at you from the multi-million-dollar sports finance studios. Check it. This is it. Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Often imitated, but hardly duplicated. 37. No, make that 30 plus years now of knocking out all bums. Who am I? My name is Pedro Fernandez. I am an ever so modest host. When I say modest, think 64 font and bold. Straight up, I'm a 4-time Golden Glove champion and I'm an award-winning boxing writer. So supposedly, allegedly, I should know a little bit about boxing. But you buy the pay-per-views, or I suspect you do. Buy them, steal them. I don't know how you watch these fights. But the bottom line is, you're the fight fan. So if you got something to say, here's the toll-free. 1-800-878-7529. That's 1-800-878-7529. Of course, I want to welcome all the viewers watching us on WBC TV via VTV. Of course, the WBC Facebook page. Of course, the president, the great Mauricio Sulaiman. I was thinking about the Godfather today. Of course, Don Jose Sulaiman, the former WBC president for life. WBC president for life. But the bottom line is, he was my godfather. You know, I've had him on the show. I had him on the show several times over the years. And some of the things I did for him, they were secret agent type of things. And he was a super nice guy. People didn't know him because people thought, he was like Don King's bedfellow and this and that. No, he had to work with everybody. I'm talking about Don Jose. He had to work with everybody. And he did things, charitable things that you just don't know about. I mean, like he supported Keith Gavilan. And of course, Keith Gavilan, the Cuban sensation at one point in time, the world welterweight champion. But he supported Gavilan. Gavilan would have been in the streets, homeless, like you see all these people now, had it not been for Jose Sulaiman. So I want to thank Jose, of course, time and time again. He is the godfather of WBC. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll talk boxing and more. And at 24 minutes past the hour, I'll bring in the retired HBO godfather. That's right. Larry Merchant makes an exclusive appearance on Ring Talk Live Worldwide coming up at 24 minutes past the hour. That's right. The retired HBO godfather, Larry Merchant. Just a few minutes on Ring Talk Live Worldwide.
Did you have an idol in the past, or do you have an idol now?
My idol in the past was Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley es el ídolo que él ha tenido en el pasado.
Now my idol is Mr. Jose Sulaiman.
Ahora su ídolo es el señor José Sulaiman. It's your first time here in Mexico?
I came through once, but I can't remember exactly what I did, but I was here once.
I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill.
El que deja de aprender, terminó su vida. El que sigue aprendiendo, sigue viviendo.
José Sulaiman! What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels.
Él me llevó por primera vez a una clínica de rehabilitación, como lo acabo de decir. Eso también se lo voy a hacer.
The record shows I took the blows and did it my
I am the Tasmanian Devil, 5-time world champion. Tune in to the WBC. Tune in.
independently owned and operated.
Now, more of Ring Talk with Pedro Fernandez.
I'm getting tired of people running from me in the ring. Mike Tyson, Holyfield, you a bunch of bums. Stand up and be a man and fight a real fighter.
That interview went viral before viral was even known. Of course, it was like 1989. I think it was May of 1989 or June of 1989. May 1989. I'm in Galveston, Texas. Beautiful place out there. The most beautiful beach I've ever seen in my life outside of China. But anyway, I'm there for the George Foreman, J.B. Williamson fight. Of course, George stocks out J.B. Williamson like four or five rounds. Of course, his comeback tour was, a bit like the bum of the month club. But J.B. wasn't a bum. He was just too small. And size matters to do things. Pornography and combat sports. But George Foreman, of course, successful coming back, losing first to Evander Holyfield for the heavyweight championship. And he came back and he knocked out Michael Moore. I'll never forget what Michael Moore will go down and be famous for the rest of his life. Being knocked out by an old man. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide. 1 week ago, the world junior welterweight champion was in the ring. I'm talking about Josh Taylor, of course, undefeated, coming to us out of the UK, but he lost that fight against Jack Catterall, and they never gave Jack a rematch. But the bottom line is, Josh Taylor did all kinds of posturing, I thought, and pontificating. He did everything he could to stay away from the Catterall fight. That's my personal opinion. Because Jack Catterall, not the greatest guy in the world, but he's got the style that sort of offsets you. So anyway, Josh Taylor loses to him, gets a decision instead. Then he defends against Teofimo Lopez. Of course, Lopez fights him for the WBO belt because he gave up all the other belts. I mean, at one point, Josh Taylor had more belts than you could imagine. He was belted. He had like 4 or 5 belts. And now what does he have? None, because he lost to Teofimo last week. Of course, Teofimo Lopez coming into the fight, a bit of an underdog. People thought that, he was been done. I mean, come on, man. Teo looked done. At 135, he was done. This is 140 pounds, of course, and he was a winner. The scorecards read let me look at the scorecards. 117, 111, 115, 113, 115, 113. The fans at BoxRec.com had it 117, 111, and that's probably about the way I had it. Josh Taylor didn't win too many rounds of that one. Of course, Teofimo looking flashy. He looked, I won't say boxing brilliant, but pretty close to it. I mean, he looked pretty close to it. I mean, at that style, the way he was pot shot and everything, I mean, maybe Josh Taylor's a bit of a bump. Maybe I overestimated Josh Taylor's ability because Josh Taylor did beat Regis Progress. Of course, Progress was the winner last week against a guy named Zarilla, but that was not much of a spectacular fight. The pound-for-pound guy at 140 is supposed to be Progress, but I don't know. How can he be the pound-for-pound guy when he lost to Josh Taylor? And, then, of course, Teofimo beats Josh Taylor. Of course, Teofimo beat him down. It wasn't even close. I mean, Josh Taylor, the fight was basically over about 3 or 4 rounds into it. You saw the styles, how it was going down. That the complexion of the fight was not going to change. That Teofimo Lopez was going to emerge victorious. Now, Lopez in the news because, no, not in the news because his father is a bit of a turd. Because his father is a jerk. I mean, without a doubt, his father, he was dancing salsa. Not to knock salsa dancing. I'm Puerto Rican, but he was dancing salsa during the fight in which the son was losing. All right, in between rounds, I mean, the kid's fighting, he's dancing. There's nothing to dance about, Dad. I always thought the dad was maybe under the influence of ego or something else, because the bottom line is dad was a bit of a piece of work. Anyway, Lopez coming back and winning this fight last week, of course, and now he's announced his retirement. He's given up the game. The takeover has done. He's retired. No more. Once beaten, had the WBO 140-pound belt, junior welterweight title, beat the linear champion, says, I'm walking away. I don't think he's walking away, but he wants a major fight contract with a network. He doesn't want to get a promoter. He wants a network. He wants Barry Hearn to throw a bunch of money down on him, or he wants Al Heyman to throw a bunch of money at him. And I just don't know if these guys – I just don't know if I mean, you're only as good as your last fight, right? In his last fight, he looked spectacular, but that was Josh Taylor. And Josh Taylor looked so one-dimensional. I mean, if I had to fight Josh Taylor, I don't think it would be too much of a problem. I just don't see it. I don't see what he brought to the dance. I guess those other guys – when they went across the pond, the aforementioned Regis Progress, current WBC champion, once beaten guy, of course, lost to Taylor over there. Talk about it in the UK. I guess going over there is like I don't know. I mean, I fought in Utah, I fought in Colorado, I fought in Nevada, I fought in Oregon, and as long as I wasn't fighting the hometown guy, I didn't care. It was tournaments. As long as I wasn't fighting the hometown guy, I didn't care. But fighting on the road, I guess in another country in a different time zone, I thought maybe it's a big thing, but it wasn't a big thing to me. I only switched time zones went over 1 hour when we fought in Utah. That was a little bit weird, fighting in Utah, because when I looked out in the crowd, it was like me and the guy I was fighting, and he was black, and a couple of the judges were black, and nobody else in Utah was black. So I wondered, why are they holding boxing in Utah there's no black athletes. But this is the way it was. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live World. So, of course, I noticed that. Things you notice, of course, across the ball, in your mind going across your, remember that, without a doubt. Sort of like Arizona. They have all those black people in jail down there, but there are no black people in Arizona. Of course, that was a Richard Pryor joke. Straight up, pound for pound king. Somebody shot me a text. Do I think it's Shakur Stevenson? What's Stevenson now? 22-0, 16 whacks, something like that. Of course, coming over the brutal beatdown of that Japanese foe. Of course, the Japanese foe came in undefeated, went out like, went out the way he was supposed to. Shakur Stevenson is supposed to be the best of the best. He's supposed to be the cream of the crop. I mean, I watched the 2016 Olympic silver medalist. He's done some things outside the ring that were non-complimentary, but he realized it and he moved out the hood. I think he's living in Alabama or Oklahoma or something like that. Some destitute place where he can't get in trouble with guys in the hood and this and that. Because, that's how you get in trouble. Speaking of the hood, Gervonta Davis spending 30 days in jail. Of course, he was supposed to spend 30 days under house arrest at his trainer's house. And evidently something went down in his trainer's house and he wore out his welcome like in 3 or 4 days. So he checked into some suite and some big multi-million-dollar suite. Turns out he owned the suite. So he turns out to didn't take care of the judge's order. The judge sort of got pissed off and the judge locked him up for 30 days. So he's in the slam for 30 days. Now Gervonta Davis, of course, coming off I don't want to say knockout wins. How do you judge the win over Ryan Garcia? How do you judge that? I mean, how do you call it? I mean, was it a knockout? No. Was it a beatdown? No. What was that? I'm still trying to figure out what went down that night. I know Ryan Garcia didn't come to fight. I know he didn't. That ring entrance, oh my God, it was like, I'm walking to my death. I'm walking to my... It was like the death walk, okay? I mean, if you are a Ryan Garcia fan, or you put some money on him like my syndicate did, my little group, okay, you would have been like appalled. We were. I mean, I was at Johnny Nava's house, Pride of Pacifica, California. Of course, he was a one-time middleweight sensation from the Bay Area, for Pacifica, California. He had a manager that was so crooked named Bill Rivette. I don't even want to go into that. But anyway, I'm watching tonight with Johnny Nava, Ben Nava, and some other people over the house. And, we're watching this fight, and it ain't going down nowhere like I thought it was going to go. I mean, people thought it all changed when Ryan got dropped. I just didn't think so. I just think Ryan threw punches with bad intentions on him. I really don't. And, of course, we've heard from Joe Goosen, the trainer extraordinaire. Of course, he was one of the founders of 10 Goose Boxing, along with his brother, the late Dan Goosen, the promoter extraordinaire. Of course, America presents 10 Goose Boxing with, God, I miss Dan without a doubt. But Joe Goosen, I thought, was the boss. I mean, he's always been the boss with his fighters. Joe Goosen, he's never taken any lip from guys. So Joe Goosen was the commander-in-chief that I thought Ryan Garcia needed. Slap his ass if he needs it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Joe would almost go to that extent. Joe can undress you verbally and make you do things I think other trainers can't do. He's just very adept at working with different personalities. I thought that he would be able to get Ryan Garcia to get off his ass and do things that Ryan Garcia's been doing for a long time that are inherent. When you do things and when you have flaws in your system, like see the jab coming out here, Ryan throws it, brings it back like that. When you bring the jab back like that, instead of bringing the back jab on a rubber band, you bring it back to your chin, you're going to get cracked, okay? He got cracked. The flaws that he has are inherent. They're at a point in his life where he can never get rid of them. I can't. I mean, unless we were to brainwash him or just put him under some heavy drugs I don't know. What can you do? Once a guy's that way, Eddie Futch, the retired HBO Godfather, the late Godfather of trainers, of course, trained Joe Frazier, trained a lot of great guys. But the bottom line is, he told me that when guys get bad habits, you just can't break guys. Boxing, you can't break guys with bad habits because you can get a guy and have him 8 to 10 weeks in a boxing, in a gym, in a boxing camp, getting ready to fight and this and that. And he does everything right. And then when spit hits a fan, when I say spit, I mean spit with an H and stress is involved, he goes right back to what he did originally. And that was sort of like Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia just failed so miserably, mentally, physically. He didn't show up. Of course, he did 1.25 million, 1.25 million homes as far as pay-per-views concerned with Gervonta Davis. Of course, Davis is in jail, and now Ryan Garcia's got a new trainer. He thinks he's with Earl Spence's people. And people say to me, well, he's got a new trainer, man. It's going to be different. No, you can't make chicken spit out of chicken soup. Get it? Spit with an H. You can't do it. You just can't. I mean, it's impossible. Listen, the greatest professors in the world cannot change things. You just can't. Once things are straight, they're straight. It's formed in the soul. So as far as I'm trying to say, I think he's done. Pound for pound, I think Josh Taylor's done without a doubt. He's talking about moving up to 147. He hasn't got the body. I just got a text on this one. He hasn't got the body to go to 147. At 140, he was stretching it. He was sort of like me at 140. He was semi-big for 140. When you go to 147, man, I went to 147. I went to the National Golden Gloves. I went down to Modesto, and I beat up a bunch of guys down in Modesto. They didn't look like fighters per se. I'm willing to admit that. They sort of looked like farm guys, you know? So, yeah. Anyway, bottom line is I qualify for the National, so I go to the National Golden Gloves because I don't want to make the junior welterweight limit anymore because I'm a bad dude. I'm going to fight at 147. You know, man, yeah, come on. Alaguayo did it. Oh, boy. I mean, Alaguayo was one of the great Golden Glove champions of our time out here. Of course, one undefeated as a pro. He passed away a few years ago. But I said to myself, let's do different divisions, you know? Let's not go down a way. Let's go up the way. So we went up to 147. So, as I said, I went down to the Valley and beat up a couple of guys down in the Valley, actually 4 of them, and on 2 different trips. And I qualified for the National Golden Gloves. So I went to the National Golden Gloves at the Showboat Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. And for that fight, Johnny Taco, the late Jimmy Johnny Taco, of course, Johnny Taco's ringside gym down there in Las Vegas, he ran me up Mount Charleston. And it was like a month. Anyway, it just was crazy. Anyway, that's what I remember. So anyway, I got ready for this fight, and I looked at the weigh-in, and when I got him at the weigh-in, I said to myself, oh, I think I could beat this guy. He sort of looks a little chubby, a little fat, this and that, right? But size matters in 2 things, pornography and combat sports. This is combat sports. When I got into the ring with this guy, I looked across the ring. He had shaved, he got a haircut, and he was like 20 pounds heavier. It was like 4 days later. So, you know, I'm saying to myself, yeah, okay, big deal. It's a different guy. I actually told my cornerman, is that the same guy? He said, yeah, it's the same guy. I said, okay. Anyway, bottom line, it looked like it was his brother. He went out there, and he boxed real slow, methodical, like a plotter, like I expect him to do. And then he hit me in the first round. He hit me 2 times, dropped me once in the first round. I said to myself, oh, this ain't good. I got up, got dropped by a southpaw. He got hit by the opposite side. He comes in this way. Hooks coming this way. Of course, the Joe Frazier hooks that hit Muhammad Ali came in from this side. And hooks are a punch that you can't see, especially when you don't expect them from the right side. Because, you know, as much as you spar with southpaws, unless you fight a southpaw like Ernie Chavez, and Ernie Chavez fought Meldrick Taylor in 1984 Olympic gold medal. Of course, Meldrick Taylor said to me, I said to Mel before the fight, I said, hey, Mel, I said, you know, you're fighting Ernie Chavez. I said, he beat me, he stopped me in the second round, and the National Golden Gloves said, watch out for that right hook, Mel. And Mel goes, oh, Pedro, man, Chavez is a bum. I said, okay. Then after the fight, Meldrick Taylor's holding this big old ice pack up on his face going, hey, who was it that told me that you could punch? Yeah, without a doubt, Ernie Chavez punch. But the bottom line is, at 147, I was just outmanned, outsized, and got my butt handed back to 139 pounds. You are tuned to Ring Talk Live Worldwide. We hope to bring in the retired HBO Godfather, Mr. Larry Merchant. If he'll pick up the phone, we'll find out.
Medallista olímpico para Estados Unidos en Los Ángeles de 1984. Evander Holyfield saltó al profesionalismo ese mismo año.
Medalist actually in the light heavyweight class. And a good left hand, helmet goes. He said he wanted to get close. Good left combination and a right. Carlos Benitez said, look at him and tell him to not listen to him. Tracked. He's finally woken up. Fans are going wild, but
In that fight, Holyfield ran out again.
En 1986 fue campeón mundial de peso crucero y en 1990 de peso completo WBC, derrotando a James Douglas.
Both are, however, able to. Both are down.
But fighting back, he shovels it. And there he goes into the ropes. Holyfield looks to finish him off. Richardson steps in and don't.
Evander tuvo connotados rivales a los que venció: George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe y a Mike Tyson en 2 ocasiones en 1996 y 1997. Holyfield es uno de los más destacados pesos completos de todos los tiempos. Resistente y técnico. Es formidable.
Mucha fuerza al término
7. That's 855.
Now, more of Ring Talk with Pedro Fernandez.
He must know that I'm not like no other fighter. I can give it and I can take it.
Yeah, but he never really delivered as a professional fighter in my mind. Undefeated, of course, but when he came to knocking people out, Floyd Mayweather just didn't get it done. Of course, Floyd's still pulling off exhibitions. There was an exhibition of sort of a few weeks ago, with a fortnight ago, with John Gotti's son. Of course, I'm talking about the ex-mobster, and of course, that didn't go too well, ended in a riot, but that's typical Floyd Mayweather. Straight up, we go from the drudge of boxing to the retired HBO godfather in boxing. I'm talking about Mr. Larry Merchant. How are you today, sir?
Hey, good morning, Pedro.
You sound great. Life treating you okay in LA?
I'm doing good for an old guy.
I don't know about old. I don't. Hey, listen. What's the weather like in Santa Monica right now? It's the most beautiful place in the world, especially that place. I won't describe your house to anybody, but that is like the palace of palaces.
Well, it's clear. It's kind of clearing skies. We'll have sun in a couple of hours, and it's been beautiful the last several days.
Now, from the weather to the world heavyweight champion, of course, we'll talk about the undefeated with one draw, Tyson Fury. This week said basically he doesn't want to fight unless he gets $300 million. First, it was $500 million. Then it was $300 million. Larry, what's wrong with this guy? You're only as good as your last fight. He hasn't fought in a while.
He's negotiating. He's hoping that some Arab prince comes up with the money or even a half of that, or a third of that, or a quarter of that, to see what the marketplace is for a heavyweight champion.
Okay, that's good. That's good. But he hasn't fought since the Last Supper. Since Derek Chisora, guys like that. I mean, the 3 fights with Wilder, of course, all 3 fights were sort of epic encounters. But outside of that, there really isn't any fights that stand out as far as him defending the heavyweight championship is concerned.
Well, there are fights that would draw big crowds in
UK,
in Great Britain, and particularly against what's his name,
Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, so I think that's a makeable fight, and maybe it travels abroad and they make more. But if he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to fight, and that's unfortunate. But it's a part of the boxing process these days that elite fighters make so much money that they fight less often.
I guess you're referring to Jamal Charlo, the WBC 160-pound champion, is going to fight Canelo Alvarez in his next fight in September. He hasn't fought since June 19th, 2021.
Yeah, well, there's a vivid example. I'd like to see him fight
Golovkin.
Young. Well, no, I don't want to see him fight old guys. I want to see him fight Costa Zoo's kid.
Oh, I'm talking, of course, Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu coming off that knockout of Sergio Ocampo last week. That was pretty amazing, wasn't it? I mean, 67 seconds.
That was as good a knockout as I've ever seen. In his purpose, in the way he delivered punches, it was terrific.
Larry, but I don't know. I mean, he's a draw without a doubt. But in order to fight him, you got to go down to Australia. And there's something about fighting guys in Australia. It's like it's the climate, the air, and that. Nobody goes down there and wins, with the exception maybe Devin Haney.
You think if Canelo wanted to fight him, he'd come to America?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, he's building his portfolio, and he looks like he's ready or almost ready to take on the best of the best.
Definitely his confidence level is there, the ability is there, and of course he's got his father Kosta Tszyu in the corner. Remember that night you did the fight? We were there. It was Kosta Tszyu and Zab Judah and Zab Judah picked up a stool and tried to throw it at Jay Nady, the referee. Remember that night?
I have a vague recollection. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were calling that. That was another wild night, the Mandalay Bay, without a doubt. Of course, Kosh, the former world 140-pound champion, lost surprisingly to Ricky Hatton. That was a bit of an upset. But at 154 pounds, of course, Charlo's at 154, and Tim Tszyu said he would come to Las Vegas to fight Charlo. So he is willing to come to the UK, the United States, and fight and make the big money.
Well, if Charlo gets a big money fight, and it's an example to other good young fighters and how their careers are going to go, because he'll make a success out of it with the money.
Yeah, good point, no doubt about that. I was in Las Vegas this week. I saw Frankie Avalon. Remember Frankie Avalon?
I remember him, yes.
Yeah, I had a great time. Godfather, Las Vegas was beautiful. The only thing I don't see in Vegas anymore is you and the Godmama. I mean, the HBO parties, Godfather, I never realized what historic significance that they were. But those little get-togethers that Seth Abraham threw after each fight, those were memorable events.
Yep. And, of course, a couple of weeks ago, we got installed in the Boxing Hall of Fame.
As well,
Maybe just for putting on those parties, as well as a few good fights.
Seth Abraham touched a lot of people. I'll say it without a doubt. He touched people, and he was sort of like Ali. Not as great as Ali, but he could touch people without touching them. I mean, he made me part of the HBO budget. I mean, that's what a great man he was. And I was just and then he called me a minch, and I was scared to death. I didn't know what that meant. I went running around the room. What are you talking about? And minch turns out to be like the greatest thing, a noble man, this kind of stuff. So Seth sort of blew me away there.
Yeah. Can I tell you something he once said to me? He said to me that sometimes I said things on the air that disturbed fighters and their followers, good fighters, top fighters we even had contracts with, and their management and their promoters and so on, and it made his job more difficult in negotiations. Then he said to me, but keep doing what you do.
Wow. I mean, that was amazing because evidently, Seth Abraham stood his ground with Larry Merchant, because the bottom line is Mike Tyson said, get rid of Larry Merchant, I'll come to HBO, right?
There were some negotiations at some point. They didn't want me to do his fights because of some comments I had made. But I think it was ironed out. I never had any complaints. There was one incident when I talked about De La Hoya and his followers.
The mariachi band.
And the mariachi band, and what are they going to have a band for? What's his name? The great welterweight of that time, the boxer,
Pernell Whitaker.
Yes, and a lot of De La Hoya fans took exception to it,
without a doubt.
And so we had a fight the next week in Houston. And he asked me not to do the fight.
I remember that. Godfather, I'm running up on a hard break. Can you kiss the Godmama for me, and we'll talk soon?
Thanks for the flowers.
Mwah! I miss you.
Miss you.
Bye-bye. The retired HBO Godfather, Mr. Larry Merchant.
Everyone watches more than 5 hours of television. Really?
Devin Haney nació en San Francisco, California. Debutó en el año de 2015. Sus primeras 4 contiendas fueron en México. Conquistó el campeonato mundial peso ligero del WBC, venciendo al dominicano Alfredo Santiago. Ha defendido el verde y oro contra Jorge Linares, Joseph Díaz, 2 veces contra George Kambosos y la más reciente, en fenomenal y polémica contienda frente al ucraniano Vasil Lomachenko. Es poseedor de un estilo muy especial y de una gran velocidad para soltar los puños y para desplazarse a lo largo y ancho del cuadrilátero. Es un invitado especial en esta tarde de celebración. Es The Dream Devin Haney.
I am the Tasmanian Devil, 5-time world champion. Tune in to the WBC. Tune in.
Did you have an idol in the past, or do you have an idol now?
My idol in the past was Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley es el ídolo que él ha tenido en el pasado.
Now my idol is Mr. Jose Zulu.
Ahora su ídolo es el señor José Sulaimán. It's your first time here in Mexico?
I came through once, but I can't remember exactly what I did, but I was here once.
Wait, it just is. And people like continue. I remember one time he told me I'm not in the mood. It's okay, you know, he's not in the mood. Just walk away. Of course, Iron Mike Tyson, the former 2-time world heavyweight champion, of course, a man that's selling weed now, selling gummies. He sells ears. I kid you not. There are Evander Holyfield's ears. Actually, him and Holyfield went half on this business. They're selling like these. They call them ears, but they get you high. So Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson came together, of course, doing their little weed thing. Of course, the fight, man, who can remember forget the bite fight? Of course, when the epic moments in heavyweight history, not for the right reasons, for all the wrong reasons. Of course, Mike Tyson got upset for the fact that Evander Holyfield butted him. And Evander Holyfield, 1984 is when I met him. Of course, May 1984 at the Olympic training camp in Colorado. So we just talked about that. But the bottom line is, he was a dirty fighter. He just was. Evander would like use his head. He butt you like a billy goat. Okay, so Mike Tyson thought he was butting him, and Mike Tyson, of course, went berserk and he bit him the first time. And the referee Mills Lane, he said, "Hey, maybe I should stop this fight right now." And then Mark Ratter, the head of the athletic commission at that point in time, now one of the upper echelon UFC officials. But he said to Mills Lane, of course, the face was about to riot, right? He goes, "Mills, do you really want to disqualify Mike Tyson right now?" Put a big old verbal question mark on that one. So Mills let it go. And of course, Mike Tyson bit him a second time, and that did cause a disqualification. Of course, the big riots that took place after that. Mike Tyson was, and of course, I lost that fight with that beer. I lost that contract with that beer company. I'll never forget that. That St. Ides beer. They signed me a big fat contract for a whole year. It was like, I don't want to talk about how much money it was, but it was like almost, it was that big. Anyway, so the bottom line is, they called me the day after the Tyson fight. Of course, the Tyson fight. I get a message on my answering machine at home. Because back in the days, when you had answering machines, not cell phones. So I get this message, you got to call us in the morning. So I call them the next morning. They canceled their contract. They wanted to do nothing. I said, well, you can't cancel your contract. You still owe me like $35,000. They paid me the $35,000. They sent me a check next week for $35,000. St. Ides beer. I kid you, sent me a check for $35,000. Didn't want to have nothing to do with boxing, and they never did as far as the future was concerned. But bottom line is, oh man, that was a good check. But Mike Tyson, had he kept it going, maybe had he not bit him, maybe the St. Ides contract would have went forever. Who knows? Anyway, bottom line is, talk about the upset of 2023 thus far in the world of boxing. What do I think it was? Oh, I think it was, of course, Sebastian Fedora. They call him the Towering Inferno. He's like 6'5", 154 pounds. 6'5", 154 pounds. I weigh 155 pounds. Okay? I'm 5'8", and I'm pretty lean. I'm skinny. I got no gut. I'm skinny. So you figure out that I'm 155, and I'm 5'8", maybe 5'8.5". I'm shrinking in my age. As you get older, you shrink. I learned that from Larry Merchant. I did. I watched Larry. Listen, speaking of Larry Merchant, I want to thank him for his time. But you look to people that are successful in things. Larry's successful in life, and I don't mean like the money and that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's got money. His wife's a movie star. His wife was a movie star. Made a lot of money with HBO, writing books, that kind of good stuff. But he has a distinct lifestyle, and I sort of study. You study people that have longevity, people that are smarter than you. I learned that a long time ago. You don't learn nothing from people that are stupider than you. And that's the problem that most people have. They listen to dumb people. You listen to smart people, people that are smarter than you. And that sometimes means you have to, bite your tongue and, because people that are opinionated and intelligent, they speak their mind without a doubt. And the retired HBO Godfather, he showed me a lot over the years without a doubt. I thank him for his time, of course, and his wife, Patricia Stitch Merchant. I sent them some flowers today because every day of my life, it's Godmama's Day. And I call her the Godmama. I talked about Patricia. Her name was Patricia Stitch as an actress, but Patricia Stitch Merchant, of course, Mrs. Merchant. I'll never forget. The first time I met her, she wasn't, people listen, I was Poison Pen Pedro back in the day. That was my column. I mean, it didn't say Poison Pen Pedro, but I was in Phil Torrance's office this week, of course. Phil Torrance is the business partner of the retired Eddie Futch I mentioned a little bit earlier. Of course, the Hall of Fame trainer, one of the godfathers in training. So I was in Phil's office, and Phil was talking about the fact that guys used to use my column in our magazine to talk about Boxing Update magazine and Flash magazine to pick opponents and things. He said it was the spit sheet. And I took offense to that. He said spit with an H. I took offense to that. What are you talking about? He goes, that's where we got all the spit. So the bottom line is, yeah, those were some good days. But Poison Pen Pedro, I was rough, without a doubt. I mean, I took no prisoners. And that's what sort of got me the North American Boxing Writer of the Year award a year and a half into the world of boxing. I mean, I'm writing for a year and a half, and bang, they fly me to Hawaii to pick up the North American Boxing Writer of the Year award. Of course, that was less than 2 years. I take that back. I turned pro in June of 1988 as far as writing for Professional Boxing Update and Flash Magazine. In June of 1990, I was the North American Writer of the Year. That's a little quick ascent there, without a doubt. But I want to thank Bob Lee. I want to thank all those people. Listen, they were wonderful to me. When I look back at people that passed on, I mentioned Don Jose Suleiman earlier. Of course, the Godfather, when Alexis Arguello was in bad shape and he was talking about killing himself on this show, he was on Pedro, I don't want to live anymore. We'll say, what? Of course, he was smoking crack at the time. He was depressed, but I didn't know what to do. I was like, what am I going to say? I mean, come on. The guy's going to talk about killing himself on the phone. Alexis Arguello, he was a bit of a head case. I knew that. But anyway, he's talking about killing himself. So I can't call it a suicide hotline in Managua, Nicaragua. He's on the phone. So I called Jose Suleiman at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And the wife answers the phone, Mrs. Suleiman. She's still alive. So she answers the phone, and I tell her in Spanish. My Spanish is terrible. I think the impeccable ones probably got better Spanish than me, because my Spanish is like pobre, muy pobre. I remember that one time I told a girl, I was trying to tell her I was an American. I told her I was a queer. I said American. I thought that means queer. So I thought Americano, American. Bottom line is, I'm not too confident when it comes to the world of boxing as far as the world of Spanish. But back to the world of boxing, the pound-for-pound king right now, we really don't have a pound-for-pound king. We just don't. We talked about that earlier. Back to the upset of the year, of course, that was in April of 2023. Man, you got to give him some props. Sebastian Fedora, 6'5". He remained undefeated. Of course, he had that one fight with Lubin where he took a knee. Smart kid, without a doubt, came back and stopped Lubin a few rounds later. But he's hard to beat at 6'5". But Brian Mendoza waited on him. Mendoza just waited on him, and he clocked him with 3 punches, and it was all over. The classic way to beat a big guy. Of course, I like beating big guys early on. I don't let them establish a pattern. Of course, Fedora had a pattern going on. You don't want to give a big guy a pattern, although he says he was waiting. I like to jump on guys right away, like Keith Rucker. I remember when Keith Rucker and I fought in the, am I going to date myself? 1982 Golden Glove Finals for the championship. He was undefeated, 8-0, 7 knockouts. Everybody came to see him. Forum boxing. John Jackson's people sent a representative up. Don Chargan sent a representative down up from his team. Okay, I can't remember what the guy's name was. So all these guys came down, and I'm seeing all these hot shots, all these big boxing guys at ringside. What's going on here anyway? So I went in the dressing room, I'm kicking back, and my mother comes in. My mother was an antagonist. She was an antagonist. She antagonized me. Why did she do it? Motivation. She comes in and tells me, she goes, Mike grandpa just told me that Don Chargan people are out here in this kind of stuff. I said, Don Chargan, the boxing promoter, they're all out here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but they're not here to see you. Oh, say what? Yeah, they're here to see Keith Rucker. They're here to see Rucker. 6'2", 6'1.5", 139 pounds, 8-0, 7 knockouts, knocking everybody out. He sent some guy into oblivion the night before, so this was where I was supposed to go. I didn't have a chance. I had 2 chances, Slim and none. And guess what? Slim wasn't in the country. Anyway, I knocked him down 12 seconds into the fight. Jumped right on his ass. That's right. You jump right on. I don't believe in that waiting around, especially in an amateur fight. You only got 3 rounds, 3-minute rounds, right? You don't have much time. But anyway, you got to jump on big guys still on, because you give big guys a chance to get going, they can crack. I mean, Rucker could crack. He wasn't actually Tommy Hearns per se, but he had that same build, and you don't want to be looking down the barrel of that right hand at all. So you move off the right hand, and then you jump on him. You jump on him like beans on rice. Of course, Rucker retired, had 2 broken bones in his face. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You were the hottest shot in boxing, but you went away. And you went away very rapidly, because the bottom line is you met me. And what I'm trying to say is that when I stepped into the ring, it was 100% every time out, every time out. And my team got me in the best condition. And when I lost, I lost. I mean, the rip-offs were different. I mean, like that time when I went down to, we were in Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, and I knocked that guy down twice in 3 rounds. He was a 147-pounder from Great Britain, and they weighed him in without showing me. I said, well, we're at the weigh-in. Where's my guy? Oh, he already weighed in. Say what? What are you talking about? He already weighed in. Say, well, where is he? So he's over there. And the guy, I see this guy is drinking water. Say, what the duck is going on here? Anyway, they slipped him in there, right? So I'm looking at this guy, and he's a big dude. There's no way he's 147 pounds, maybe 167, maybe, he's somewhere in the 60s without a doubt. From looking at him, he's huge, okay? So they said to me, are you scared? Oh, man, that motivated the hell out of me. So I went out there, and I bitch slapped him for 3 rounds, threw bolo punches, the whole 9 yards, gangster slapped him, knocked him down a couple times, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of 3 rounds, they gave the fight to him. A split decision, they gave the fight to him. They went to give me it was a tournament. They went to give me the silver medal, and I walked away. And if that ring is still standing in Tucson, Arizona, that silver medal is still sitting here, because I never picked it up. I remember what I told the guy, and you can't repeat that on the radio anymore, the FCC rules. But the bottom line is that was like the rip-off of all time. Or the time I went down there to Redwood City, Dave Garcia spanked me one time. Dave Garcia stopped me in the 2nd round over in Concord, California, my first 3-minute round fight, I think, my first open fight. So anyway, I knew Garcia was tough. He won some Golden Glove titles. He was a rough, nationally ranked competitor without a doubt. So when I lost him the first time, it was when I dropped him my right hand. I dropped the right hand. He caught me with a hook anyway. So I learned to glue that right hand to my face. Believe me, getting dropped a couple times will do this to you. If you don't learn, you end up being Ryan Garcia. So anyway, I went down to Redwood City, and I fought him in his hometown. I fought Dave Garcia in his hometown, and I beat him decisively. In fact, when they stopped the fight in the middle of the 3rd round, this is your 3-minute rounds, the open fight, okay? Stopped the fight in the middle of the 3rd round, they're cutting off my gloves. I mean, they're taking the gloves off of this, and I'm saying to myself, right on. No, right on. They got us in the center of the ring, and they said that he won by disqualification. They never took a point away from me. They never warned me in the fight or nothing like that. They just stopped the fight and awarded a disqualification win to Dave Garcia. So I've been ripped off in boxing like you wouldn't believe. A lot of fighters get ripped off, and I can only compare it to being in Las Vegas. I was in Vegas this week, of course, because gambling. I did some gambling at the South Point Casino in South Las Vegas, and I tell you how I gamble. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is if you go to Vegas, you should try to employ this method, because it works for the most part, or it works for me more often than it doesn't. You take $40 and you go down and you play in a shoe. You know what a shoe is? That's when they have like the 5 or 6 decks put together. The dealer's dealing from that big shoe. So you wait till she starts a new shoe. He or she starts a new shoe, and then you wait until she busts. And this may take you 20 minutes or a half hour, but you want to make some money, okay? So anyway, you wait the 15 or 20 minutes till she busts on the cue, and then you jump in. So I jumped in with $25. I walked away with $575 about 5 or 6 minutes later. What I'm trying to tell you is that you got to make your move. Oh, but the rule in effect is if I lost the $40 or the first 25, if I lost 50, I was out. And that was a rule at the Imperial Palace Hotel. When I went to work for Ralph Engelstad, he was the last independent casino owner in Las Vegas. He was a tough dude, a nice guy. He treated me like gold without that very gruff type of guy like Alex Street. Anyway, but the bottom line is, when I interviewed for the job with him to be one of the voices of the Imperial Palace Hotel, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Imperial Palace. Anyway, when I interviewed for him, he said, Fernandez, do you gamble? I said, I didn't know what to say because I do gamble a little bit now and then, or I used to. No, sir, I don't. Good. And then he laid out this $40 plan. In other words, if you lose the $40, you walk away. But if you keep winning on that $40, you wait until you lose the first time. After you lose the first time, you walk away. And that's just what I did the other night at South Point Casino. And I walked away with $575. So that's the way to do it. And I want to thank Ralph Engelstad of the Imperial Palace Hotel for schooling me on the subject of blackjack. I learned, you learned. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide.
De la clase masiva de box más grande del mundo 2023. Así que vamos por el knockout.
Hey guys, this is Brian the Wine Punch Valoria. Stay tuned to WBC TV and Fit.
Plus, you can always shop around. 800-915.
Ring Talk with Pedro Fernandez.
Dr. Fernandez, outside call on line 9. Dr. Fernandez, outside call on line 9.
The pound-for-pound queen in the world of boxing, according to BoxRec.com, is Chantel Cameron. Of course, undefeated is 18-0, the world junior welterweight champion. Last month, she set back Katie Taylor, the world lightweight champion. Of course, Taylor now 22-1. Who I think the best fighter pound for pound in women's boxing is, I think it's either Amanda Serrano, and she's 44-2-1, but she's 34 years old, or get this, Cienesis Estrada. She's 30 years old. She's 24 and zip, but she fights at 105 pounds. She's too small. But the bottom line is, I think for pound, she's probably the best fighter in all of women's boxing, Cienesis Estrada. Now, next week, of course, we got some fights coming up. I'm not all excited about July 1st. Of course, we got Jerry Anderson, the heavyweight hope I mentioned a little bit earlier. I don't know. He fights a lot of soft guys. He's fighting Charles Martin. Charles got 2 chances, Slim and none. And you know the story. Slim's out of town. So that's going to be like a foregone conclusion. That's going to go down ESPN on July the 1st. And Jared Ennis will be as a foregone conclusion being the winner there. But also on the 1st, we're going to have Savannah Marshall and Francan Cruz de Zun. That's going to go for the undisputed super middleweight title, I guess, of the women. That's who on Sky Sports. And Dalton Smith and Sam Maxwell. Bottom line is, next week is nothing in the world of boxing. It's like a bad week. Jared Ennis, if you need to eat your boxing picks on, I guess that's the way to go. As far as the UFC is concerned, I haven't mentioned the UFC in the show except to say this. I want to slap Dana White. Dana White's got this new slap thing coming out. Have you seen this? Have you seen the slap fights? Dana's got the slap league coming out where guys slap each other. And you like, if you can knock a guy out by slapping him. My mother could slap. She slapped me one time, made my ears ring for 3 or 4 days in a row. I kid you not, she was guilty of child abuse. She told me, yeah. I said, Mom, you hurt me so hard that my ears rang for 3 or 4 days. I said, that's child abuse. She's lucky I didn't kill you. She caught me cut in school. The bottom line is, slapping people is what I like to do to Dana White. So if you guys can get me a slap fight against Dana White, I will take it. But I got to throw first. You got to give the smaller guy the chance. Give me the ability to throw first. Because that's right. Because if you get slapped the first time, how the hell can you slap somebody back? Right? Come on, man. You're like able to slap somebody after getting the spit knocked out of you? I don't think so. So whoever slaps first, I think, wins in that competition. But that's what Dana's doing. That's his latest pimp job. Dana White slapping people. Straight up, this has been Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Of course, coming to you, and we are brought to you by the Impeccable one in the other room. We're talking about Bailey Peckmore. He's my producer extraordinaire. I want to thank him without a doubt. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank Daniela Jackman and Double J down there in Dallas, Texas with DTV and WBC TV, Mauricio Suleiman, everybody in the crowd. Straight up, my name is Pedro Fernandez. If you didn't know it, what can I say? After 2 hours, shame on you. Straight up, this is Ring Talk Live Worldwide, a production of the Sports by Live Broadcast Network.